According to this article here on this New Zealand website, Joseph Parker is heading to London and is set to hire Andy Lee as his new trainer, replacing Kevin Barry. Now, when the news broke that Joseph Parker was splitting from Kevin Barry, and the official reason was logistical, because Kevin Barry is based in Las Vegas, he trains several fighters out there, and Joseph Parker said he apparently wants to train in New Zealand and doesn't want to have to travel so much. He wants to spend more time with his family. When I initially heard that reason for the split, I felt like, you know what? That could be the case, but very often in boxing, there's a diplomatic front that the fighter and the trainer, or the fighter and the promoter or manager, will give to the public, where they won't divulge the true extent of the differences they had that led to them going their separate ways. Now, I'm not saying that Parker's split from Kevin Barry was less than amicable, but I suspect there's more to it than just logistics, just the fact that Kevin Barry's based in Vegas and Joseph Parker wants to spend more time in New Zealand. And the fact that he's gone and hired Andy Lee kind of lends credence to my suspicions. Because Andy Lee, of course, is based in the United Kingdom. So what's he going to do? Is he going to relocate to New Zealand? Or is Joseph Parker simply going to come over to the UK when he wants to do his training camps and train here? You see? So again, I'm not saying that logistics had nothing to do with why he split up with Kevin Barry, but I don't think that's the only reason. Now, as far as how Joseph Parker's going to do with Andy Lee, if the information in this article is accurate, Andy Lee is an unproven trainer as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, he is co-trainer to his cousin Tyson, but the main man is obviously Javon Sugar Hill. So I'd say Andy Lee's unproven as a trainer. I have to imagine that Joseph Parker has spent some time with Andy Lee before, because Joseph Parker's been quite close to the Fury team for quite a long time now. So I imagine he spent time with Andy Lee before, maybe trained with him in the gym and what have you, and probably likes the way he works. So I imagine there is some familiarity between the two, and that's always good at the end of the day. Perhaps he's hoping to get some of that Fury magic from Andy Lee. You know, some of the X factor that Tyson Fury has, because Joseph Parker has been very, very impressed with Tyson Fury over the years, to such a degree that it's actually a bit nauseating for me, because I want to see contenders not in awe of each other, or, well, in this case, Tyson Fury is a champion and Joseph Parker's a contender. I want to see them not in awe of each other, but actually in competition with each other, you know, believing they can all beat each other. It's not like Joseph Parker grew up with Tyson Fury or anything like that. He fought Tyson Fury's cousin. And in that fight, he was trying to take Huey's head off. So I'd rather see Joseph Parker have that kind of attitude towards Tyson as well. But as we've spoken about many times in the past, Joseph Parker seems to lack a certain meanness. Now, he has it against certain opponents. Like, even in his last fight against Junior Farr, he showed meanness. But generally speaking, he isn't the meanest of guys. It's like Mike Tyson, when he was fighting, he could be nice as pie with you outside of the ring. I mean, many of his sparring partners talked about this, how he could be so nice to you and so friendly. But when the sparring session started, he tried to take your head off every time. You don't get the impression that Joseph Parker has that Jekyll and Hyde on-off switch to him to the extent of a Mike Tyson, or even to the extent of a Tyson Fury, or perhaps even an Anthony Joshua. And that's really what you need at the top level. Or Dylan White, for example. He definitely has that on-off switch, where he can be real nice with you and whatever outside the ring. But once it's time to rumble in sparring or in a pro fight, Dylan White is coming to take your head off. And that's really what Joseph Parker needs, particularly at the higher levels. You know, when he's fighting people that he's not really impressed by, he tends to be mean. But when he's in there against the Dylan Whites of the world and Carlos Takam, people like that, Andy Ruiz, he doesn't seem to have the meanness against those guys. I do think it's a confidence issue. Hopefully Andy Lee will be able to bring more meanness out of Joseph Parker, but Andy Lee isn't a particularly aggressive character. You know, he's a very calm guy. And I'm wondering whether Joseph Parker needs someone more like a John Fury, you know, somebody who has meanness in them themselves, and that can rub off on Joseph Parker. So is Andy Lee the right guy? I guess time will tell. And how is this going to work logistically? Is Joseph Parker going to base himself in the UK? Because he's always fighting UK fighters, right? He's already fought Anthony Joshua. He's fought Dylan White. And it's looking like he's going to fight Derek Chisora. So will he base himself in the UK? Or is Andy Lee going to take a little trip over to New Zealand and base himself out there? Now, obviously, with all the restrictions and stuff like that happening at the moment, Andy Lee must have some reservations about doing that. So how's this going to work out? Will it be a good fit? At the end of the day, proof is in the pudding. A tree is known by its fruits and all those good cliches. So let me know how you guys think this is going to pan out in the comments below. And if you have any information with regards to Joseph Parker splitting up with Kevin Barry and maybe some other reasons aside from logistics, then drop that info below as well. All right.